Hey there, it's Flatbread Friday, and I had a bunch of leftover things and stuff from my garden, and we're gonna make a fun and yummy fresh vegetable pizza. So let's do it. Here are the vegetables I was talking about, the ones I had on hand. Some mushrooms, some red onions, Roma tomatoes from my garden, and baby collard greens and parsley from my garden too. Since the weather's getting a little cooler around here, my collards and kale have been pumping up. So we're gonna prep these collard greens. Because these collard greens are not fully mature, instead of taking the stems out, I'm gonna cut the bottom stems off, and then I'm gonna cut these into a chiffonade. To make a stack of collard greens, largest to smallest, and then we're gonna roll them up like a cigar. Turn them around and drag your knife through and make some nice strips of fresh collard greens. Our collard chiffonade is made, chiffonade, not ard, and a whole bunch of nice strips of fresh immature collard greens, and those are going to be part of our topping. We have a skillet over medium heat. We're going to add some seasoned roasted garlic oil. That should be enough. And when it gets a little hot, we're going to start with our vegetables. We're heating up nicely, getting a little bubbly. We're going to start with our mushrooms and onions. Cook them till they're softened up a little bit. No tomatoes, you're not going in yet. Okay, we'll save the tomatoes for a little while. Stir these up. Incorporate them together. Season our mushrooms and onions with some salt and pepper. Stir those seasonings in and keep cooking these till they're softened up. They're beginning to soften because the tomatoes are going to need a little time too. Our mushrooms and onions are softening up nicely. Now it's time for our Roma tomato slices. These are immature tomatoes too, but they turned red, so good to use them. And I think I put enough salt and pepper to season the tomatoes as well, so we're just going to mix them in, separate them up, and soften the tomatoes up a little bit too. Time for 2 or 3 cloves of minced garlic. Stir that in, cook them till they're fragrant. Our garlic is very fragrant. You know, I was going to use tomato sauce on this pizza, but this vegetable mixture is coming out pretty saucy, so I think this might be the sauce. Now in comes our collard chiffonade. We're going to wilt that up. And we'll see what happens when we build our pizza. I have an experimental new crust, so we'll see how that goes. I like tarragon with mushrooms, so I'm going to sprinkle a little on here and finish this up. Mix it up. And this is looking good. I have turned off the heat, and now we're going to build our pizza. Our veggies are softened up and saucy, and I told you before, we're gonna build our pizza. I'm preheating the oven to 425 because that's what it says on this pizza crust that I got at the Fresh Market, and it's pretty cool. It comes on its own piece of parchment, And just unroll it. And I think it'll fit okay on this sheet pan. If not, we'll transfer it to the round pizza pan. That was meant to be. I've decided to use these vegetables as the sauce. I think I mentioned that before. It's a nice mixture, and it might be too much, but it might be all right. Spread it around all the way out to the edges. Maybe I need to mix a little sauce with this because it doesn't seem like it's going to be out to the edges enough, but maybe. Let's get her done. Turned out to be enough. I made it work, and that vegetable mixture is so yummy. Now on comes some shredded mozzarella. Spilling it all over the place. Spread it out all over the place. That needs to go pretty close to all the way out to the edges too. Our mozzarella is on. Because I like creaminess and because I found some alouette in my refrigerator, I'm going to put some dollops of this garlic and herb cheese on top before we bake it. Just, you don't want to be too close to the edges with this because this will melt and pour out. So we're going to just add. And then we're going to go in the oven. Our veggie pizza is ready to go in the oven. Looking good. It's going to take about 20 minutes and it'll be bubbly and golden and creamy. And then we're going to eat it up. Our thin crust veggie pizza is out of the oven. Browned up, cooked up, crisped up. And this parchment didn't perform very well. So if I ever buy this crust again, I won't be using that. But now we're going to slice it up and serve it. Here's our yummy vegetable pizza on a plate. And I don't know if you remember, I showed the parsley from my garden. We're going to garnish it with a little bit of that. And then we're going to taste it up. Ready to serve, looking delicious, and it's going to be delicious. Thank you for joining me for this week's edition of Flatbread Friday. Here's our creamy vegetable thin crust pizza, and it's going to be so yummy, and we're going in. Came out so good, and we'll see you again soon. It was fun to use those ingredients. Some I grew, some I didn't grow, but they were fresh and yummy, and that made a good pizza. Happy Flatbread Friday.